All right, we are back today. It is, well, it's actually pretty late. I'm headed into town to pick up the shy one. And I have been dealing with, the doctor thinks it's allergies still. You know, I went Friday because I took the kids Thursday. They were all sick. And I went to the doctor myself. They think it's allergies. My sinuses were just out of control. And finally they've opened up. But I've still had kind of a headache. So I haven't done much. But today we're going to deal with the Q&A. Right now, I'm just headed up to pick up the shy one and take her to her class. And then we'll answer your question. Shy one is in her class, so we're going to address some questions. My Brooklyn girl in the Caribbean, she's asking, why don't I get it? There we go, that's better. She asked about propagating and growing moringa. And the key to propagating moringa, all of my moringas that are growing came basically from 4 trees on one property that I know someone that owns. The guy that I get bananas from, he's got 4 moringa trees on his land, and one day when I went onto his property, we were talking bananas, and I saw the moringa trees, and I said to him, hey, can I get some of these seed pods? And he said, man, take as much as you want. So I grabbed a 5-gallon bucket out of my truck, and we're climbing the tree. He's climbing the tree, picking the pods off, and we filled the 5-gallon bucket twice with moringa seeds. And then we planted those moringa seeds everywhere, and then they flowered, and they gave us more pods. Then we take cuttings, and you stick moringa sticks in the ground, and they grow. If you don't know someone that has one, it's time to start making some calls. You can get a lot of help from the government here. I'll use a different example to explain the moringa. I found the moringa on my own, but I didn't have access to the trees that we have planted. The woman that I found at that nursery where we bought all those trees, I found her through a series of phone calls. I got on the phone with the forestry department. So what you want to do is start calling around. Call forestry. If you don't have a forestry department, call the Department of Agriculture. Right here in Jamaica, it's the Ministry of Agriculture. I called them first, and the Ministry of Agriculture said to me, no, you need to talk to people in forestry. Forestry is a division of the Ministry of Agriculture here. So they gave me some phone numbers. I called them. They gave me some other phone numbers. I called them. And after about 6 or 8, maybe 10 phone calls, I got a hold of somebody who was interested in what I was doing and wanted to help. And that led me down the path that eventually got me to that woman. And she has been able to help with all the stuff that we do now. She's able to get a hold of things that you just, you know, and she knows what I'm talking about. When I say I'm looking for Djibouti Kabas, she says, you want the red ones or the orange ones? It's like, both. Okay, well, we do get them sometimes. I just have to keep in contact when she has them. So if you can't find someone, it's time to start making some phone calls. I've been on the phone with the universities, so there's 2 places you want to call. You want to call your government Department of Agriculture or Forestry, Forest Management Service, something like that. Then another place is local universities. The local universities almost always have a Department of Agriculture or a forestry or an environmental services section. So if you talk to people in these areas, you'll get a lot of information, and that information can be used to get what you need. And I can't tell you how many things I've gotten fixed, or I've gotten answers to questions just by calling someone and just having a little persistence. You may have to make 10, 12 phone calls. You may get sent to the wrong person 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times, but eventually you'll find somebody that knows something that will have an answer to the question you have, and that's the important thing. So I hope that helps. If that doesn't help, you let me know, and we'll try and work it out. But let me know if that's not gonna work, if that doesn't help, and we'll try and find a better solution for you. For some reason, I lost all the footage from the second question, so we're going to address that question right now. And the second question is about, when are we going to get the house built? What's the holdup? I mean, that's not really the question. It wasn't. They weren't asking what's the holdup, but I know I'd be saying, what's the holdup? I mean, why are you working in a very far back corner? Why aren't you building a house? And building the house is a complicated issue, and it's all around the legal bureaucracy about my wife's death. We had planned on submitting, this is the original plan. I'm not going to go all the way back to the original plan. We bought that property in two different pieces of property. Technically, it's 2 pieces of property. There's the 4 acres that we bought originally, and then there's the 6 acres right next to it that we bought very recently. What ended up happening is we couldn't get to terms with the guy who owned the 6 acres. We bought the 4 acres, we wanted to buy the 6 acres, but he wouldn't give me a number. And I wasn't negotiating against myself. I made him an offer, he never countered, he never answered, he never did anything. So after I'd been back and forth with him a little bit, and he was, we had said, forget it, we're not going to end up with the 6 acres. We're just going to have to live on the 4 acres, and that'll be that. And what we did is we went out and we staked out, we brought in the surveyor, we got everything ready to go. And just as I was out there with the building inspector, the guy came out and gave me a number we could agree on, and I bought the 6 acres. Now, because that gives us 6 acres next to it, that turns the property into a totally different piece of property. So where do we put the house? Where we're going to build the house changes now. So because we change where we're going to build, now we change everything. So we have to go back, we meet with the architect, we talk to the architect, and we can't do any of this until the property is legally ours, which is another bureaucratic nightmare. And just as we become legal owners of that property, my wife's pregnant. And we say, okay, we're going to wait until after she has the baby before we get started building. For obvious reasons. And she had the baby, and then she dies. So now I've got a whole different set of bureaucratic hoops to jump through. In order to get building permits, you need anyone whose name's on the title to sign on the building permits. Well, she can't sign anything because she's gone. So until I can remove her name from the titles of the property, I can't get new building permits. So right now we have the bureaucracy of removing her name from the titles and getting the titles clean in my name only. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is we've got another piece of property that we're trying to, that she wanted to keep it forever and rent it. Personally, I don't want to rent it. I got enough headache rentals, don't want to do that. We're just going to sell it. So we're going to take that property, I have to sell that. You will actually see that because you'll see that tomorrow. I did some work there. Now, we need to get the titles in my name solely, and then I can submit all the paperwork for building permits. As soon as I get all the paperwork for the building permits, we can then start construction. We're going to sell the other piece of property, which is going to give us a good chunk of the money we need to build this house. So Unfortunately, until all this bureaucracy is done, and God only knows, this is Jamaica, nothing happens quickly here. So until all that's taken care of, we can't start building. This is the whole reason that I've started doing all the work that I'm doing way back where we are. The Zone 3 food forest, the Zone 4 timber forest. Those are far off corners of the property that are nowhere near where the house will be built. So we don't have to worry about any damage to the work we're doing by the construction vehicles and all the laborers, all that stuff. We don't have to worry about any of that. So, as to why we're not building the house, that's why. As soon as the bureaucracy is taken care of, I'm really hoping that come September, we'll be able to start building. The last question is surprisingly tied to the one I just answered regarding the house. The question is, how much food do we actually get? Aside from honey, what are we getting from the property in food? And that's kind of a complicated question, because when you study permaculture, you understand that you want the things that you're going to deal with every day very close to your house. And the further you get from the house, the less maintenance, the less you actually deal with these things. So what we planted so far, we planted a Zone 4 timber forest. Now, intermixed amongst that, we have some pumpkins and some cucumbers and some tomatoes and some peppers and that sort of thing, but those aren't for me. We let one of the arrangement I have is the guy that helps out on the property, he's there, he keeps the goats up from destroying everything. He's allowed to plant what he wants to harvest, providing it doesn't interfere with the stuff that I'm growing. So as long as he doesn't use any chemicals, pesticides, fertilizers, and he does things in a way that I approve, he can plant the stuff that he wants there. One of the reasons we have so many pumpkins is he can sell the pumpkins, and I get the benefit of having the pumpkins growing on the property. So he's getting stuff, and we do get other things. There's the papayas. We get a lot of papayas. We've gotten multiple different things, but all of the stuff that's growing on the property now is either a Zone 3 food forest, which is at most a year old, or it's a Zone 4 timber forest, neither of which is designed to give us production right away. Now, we're intermixing with those things other things that will give us production quickly. As in the food forest, we have papayas. Now, the trees are going to take several years to reach productivity, but the papayas become productive very quickly. The bananas, they become productive very quickly. So we've gotten bananas, we've gotten papayas, we've gotten several things. Class stopped for a snack, and they had pizza ordered in, so we had some pizza. Shy One brought me some pizza. Very nice. Understand, there are a lot of things we have planned that will give us much more production quickly. But those have to be put on hold until the house is built. So this is how the two questions kind of tie together. There's going to be a big area that I'm going to have for annual type vegetables. Sweet peppers, tomatoes, cucumber, all of that stuff. But that has got to be in a Zone 1 place. And Zone 1 is right next to the house. And right next to the house, not where we want to be because we don't have the house built. We're going to have chickens, ducks, turkeys. We're going to have other things. But because of the fact that we're delayed in construction of the house, because of the bureaucracy dealing with that, we're not getting to the things that will give us production quickly. Instead, I'm forced to work in the Zone 3 and the Zone 4 areas, which are long-term tree production systems. These long-term tree production systems, in 10 years, those are going to be super useful. Right this minute, not so much. But that's why when you deal with a food forest, you plant a lot of small things in the herb layer that give you the annual production. And they give you all the benefits of having things growing in that layer. Our sweet potato slips have all taken root and they're growing, and they're the good ones. So do this right. We should have good sweet potatoes. That's our question and answer, guys. If I didn't address your questions thoroughly enough, let me know in the comments. If you have other questions, let me know in the comments. Both these questions I got from comments on videos and from the Facebook page. So go to the Facebook page, like the page, follow the page, and leave comments there. I do put different material on that page. Things, pictures of things that are happening, or instead of I don't have an Instagram account or a Pinterest or anything like that. So I don't post pictures, but when we do things, I post the pictures on Facebook. And I leave updates on Facebook. So you can get more information on Facebook. So follow us on Facebook. And thanks again, guys. God bless. We will see you guys. We'll be back